So far in this HTML curriculum, we have covered a lot of tags, but all the tags so far were being appeared in their default properties. For example, when I am putting a body tag, the background of that body is white. Maybe I would like to change the color of that background. Similarly, when I am showing the heading, I want to change the alignment of that particular heading. So we can do all those things by putting the attributes to our tag. Basically, all the HTML tags has some attributes along with a default value. But if you don't want to change the default value, you can omit writing those attribute names. But now we are going to see about the attributes as well. So is used to define the characteristics of an element, like how you are going to show the particular HTML element or a tag is placed inside the opening tag. Means by the time you will, like, we have the couple of things like opening tag and closing tag. So when you pass the opening tag, inside that you will mention the attributes followed by the value. So that will be made up of two parts, the name and value, means the name of the attribute and its value. For example, if body is my tag, I want to change the background color, so BG color is my attribute, and red, maybe I want to make it red background, so red is the value. So let's see, here's an example also. So like the same example, HTML head, title, body, and then inside that you can see body, BG color, tan. Alright, so I want to change the background color to tan and the alignment of this heading to right. So these are the attributes followed by the values. So let's see how to use the different attributes for the different tags in this practical example.
So now if I want to use some of the attributes with our existing HTML elements, what I'll do, as here we have already learned about h1 tag, I'll start putting some attributes. Most of the attributes nowadays, as I said, will be coming through the CSS, but here we'll not cover CSS, but we'll try to put the attributes by a basic HTML itself. So here what I'll do, I'll put an attribute called align, and here I will say center. As in the previous video when we were covering some of the basic elements, we saw the center tag, but that was doing the alignment center for everything which is existing between those center tags. But this is particularly for the first h1, so it will only be applicable for the first tag only. So you will see now its alignment is center. Similarly, if I'll use the same align attribute with the another tag, that is h2, and here I will say right. So this is the element, attribute and the value. When I'll refresh it, you can see this heading is now have alignment right. And since we have the default value, every element has some attributes and every attribute has the default value. So for here we, as we were seeing, that the default alignment for h1 or for any heading is left. So if I'll put the default value, it will not be affected anyhow. So now onwards, whichever tag we will start learning about would be having some attributes followed by few values. For example, as we have discussed about the horizontal line, that is HR, that was used to put this horizontal line. But if I want to change some of the things in that default HR, I will again use the attributes, like width is the attribute, and here I will say 50%. That means the 50% of the complete width will be assigned to this HR. As you can see, the default alignment for this HR is center. So if you want to make changes, you can simply say align is equal to left. Just put that inside the quotes. And now this is having the left alignment. Alright, so but I'll remove this for now. So if you say height, I will say height in pixels only. So I'll say, let's say 10 pixels. In case you want to change the color of this HR, I'll use the attribute color and we'll say red. Alright, so these are all the things which you can use for making the changes in default appearance of any HTML tag.
As in the previous videos, we have already seen the introduction and how to start the basic implementation of HTML.
So now here I'll start the basic tags with the heading tags. So for that, here as I said, I have 6 level of heading tags starting from H1, which is the biggest in size. You can carry on with the remaining ones, that is H2, still H6. Alright, so what I'll do, I'll just say this is heading 1. Alright, so let's come to the browser where I have already opened it, and as soon as I will refresh, you can see this is heading 1. Now I can continue with the others. Alright, so we'll do required changes. So now as here you can see, I have used all the 6 tags, that is from H1 to H6 with the different text. So as soon as I will save the document, I'll refresh it here. You can see the different size of headings are now available over your browser. If you want to align them all in the center, what you can do, you can just put the center tag. So I will put the center from the beginning and will close at the end. So I have actually enclosed all the 6 headings inside it. So all will be aligned center now, like this. Alright, if you want to make it alignment right, in coming videos we'll start working with the attributes which will help us out in aligning of by putting more attributes to any tag. But for now, I'll just only go for the headings. As here you can see, all the different headings are appearing in the different line. But if I'll put the different text, for example, if I'm writing a very basic text, a paragraph, so for paragraph, I will use a P tag, and after that I can start writing whatever I want. So let me first remove these tags to make the output more clear. And inside this, I will put a paragraph tag. Again, I'll close it at the end, and between that I will write all the text. So this is a new paragraph. Alright, you can write as much as you want inside this. But now if I want to put the next line in the another line, means let's say this is next line. So you can see all the things are there in the same line. Alright, but if I want to break the line from here, what I can do is I can put the BR tag. So basically this BR is a single tag, means it is not a pair tag, because I don't want to write anything between the opening and closing tags of BR. So what I can do is I can actually close it immediately. Even if you will not close it, it will not going to show you any error, but technically whichever tag is open has to be closed. So here I will make it a empty tag, means a non-pair tag, and I will close it immediately. So now when I refresh, you can see it has broken the line. Similarly, if you want to put some more spaces between any words, for example, by default when I'm giving a single space, it is showing a single space out here as well. But in case if I'll give some space to this, some more spaces, they will not be reflected. Alright, so for giving the extra spaces, what I can do is I can use ampersand NBSP. That will equivalent to the half space. So now I'll copy paste that for giving multiple spaces, and as soon as I'll come here and refresh, you can see there are some spaces between these two words. Now similarly, If I want to put some formatting inside, means pre-formatting in my web page, that is not possible by default. So that's, for example, if I want to draw this particular pattern, alright, so I want that these asterisks, these stars should be displayed over the web page like this. But when I will refresh here, you can see all are coming again in a same line, because only one space will be shown between these asterisks. Alright, so if I want to display all these things as it is, or wherever I want the output, that should be as it is as you have designed it here, I will go for the pre-formatted tag, that is this pre tag. So whatever formatting you will do inside this, whatever you will write in between these tags, they will be displayed as it is. Alright, as here you can see, now the output and this particular pattern is exactly the same. Now let's take one more scenario. As I have already gone through the heading tag, here I am using the h2. So maybe this is the heading of my page, and after that I want to start a paragraph related to this. Alright, so this is paragraph 1. Alright, so obviously it will be looking like this. Now I want to draw a line between the heading and the paragraph to mark it as a separator. So for that, what I can do, I can use the HR tag. It will draw the horizontal line in my web page like this. Alright, so if you want to alter the size of this particular HR, I will do that with the help of the attributes. But here I'm not going to cover the attributes. Here we are just going through some basic tags. So this is the HR tag which will draw the horizontal line in your web page. So these are all some basic tags using which you can start writing some basic HTMLs. In our coming video, we are going to cover some more fantastic features.
In this video of HTML, we will discuss about the phrase tags. Suppose you are working on a big text on a particular HTML document, and out of that you want to emphasize some particular part, like you want to highlight a particular part differently. So in that particular case, you can go for the phrase tags, which are as here, like emphasize. This EM tag that you will use will make the italic text out of the big text. Marked text will change the background to yellow. Strong will make it bolder. When you say address, it will basically come in a new line and then it will be italics. And quotation tag, which will actually put the text in the double quotes. So let's see how these tags will affect the output of a HTML document. So let's start the practical implementation now.
Now in context of the phrase tags, I'll start working with the EM tag, that is emphasize tag. So in whichever text you will put this EM tag, that will be italics. Alright, that will look like an italic text. So basically now in the complete paragraph, I'm emphasizing on these particular words. So whenever you want to make something like emphasized, you can use the EM tag for that. Similarly, you can use the tag mark in order to highlight some of the important text out of a paragraph. So as here you can see, background of the particular color, that means the background of this particular text marked will be yellow. Alright, so if you want to make some changes, or if you want to highlight a particular text out of a big paragraph, you can use the mark tag and can enclose the important text between that. If you want to make the changes in the color, like this one is highlighted from yellow, so you can later start working on CSS, which will help you out in highlighting the background of any text with the color you want. Now next tag in the phrase tag list is the strong tag. So whenever you will put the strong, the text enclosed within it will be look bolder than others. Alright, so like this one is the strong tag. Alright, so this will help you out in highlighting in the another manner. Like first of all, I was changing the background color of any particular text. Now I'm using strong to make it bolder. Similarly, all the three tags which we have used so far, like emphasized, mark and strong, all are actually highlighting the particular text out of a paragraph in the different manners. Now, the last tag in the list which we have is the address tag. Basically, this address tag is used to enclose an address between itself. So whatever text you will use between the address will be looking like this. Means automatically the line is broken, alright, it is coming down and in the italic form. So it is not just showing the text in the italics, but it is also breaking the line, as you can see. After that, I am not using the BR tag anywhere, but as soon as this address tag is started, it is coming completely in a new line. So this is how you can use these phrase tags in order to decorate your HTML page.
In this video of HTML, we will discuss about the comments. Comments are basically something in a document which is completely ignored by the browser. Means even if you will write the comment on your HTML page, either on the head or on the body, so it will not be reflected as the output in the browser. Why? Because comments purpose is to give the information to your colleagues. For example, today I, as a web designer in a company, is designing a web page. Maybe tomorrow or some other day I will resign and some other employee will come and will work on the same web page. So the comment which I will write today will help him out that why I have put some particular tag or whatever I have done. I can actually keep on explaining for whatever I am doing while designing a web page inside the comments. So it will be basically a good practice to write comments when you are working on a big documents. It will in fact help you also out after a few days. Like today I created a very big document, maybe after some time I'll forget something about it. I can go there again, I can read the comments and I will get my information back. So let's see how to write the HTML comments now.
So now in context of comments, as here you can see, I have already created a demo page where I have put a heading that comment doesn't come in browser. So let's try to add a comment right before this heading, and in order to put that, what I'll do, I will write a comment like this, which will begin with the exclamation symbol inside the angular bracket and then followed by 2 hyphens. Now after that you can write whatever you want in order to pass some information about a particular segment or about your web page, which will be helpful for the new developers or new designers which will work on the very same page. And after writing the text, you can just close it again by a couple of hyphen symbols followed by the closing of your angular bracket. So let's save it and come to the browser, where I'll refresh and see that comment doesn't come in browser, but I'm not able to see any comment on the top of this. If I'll come and see the page source, then only I will be able to see the comment, but in the main output screen it is not visible.
Now in this particular HTML video, we will discuss about creating the blocks using div tag. Div tag or division tag is basically a very common tag which you may find in any other HTML document, and it is used to basically grouping of different HTML elements. For example, if in a single web page you have the heading, paragraph or image for the different groups and you want to put a similar formatting for each group, then you can use the blocks, that is div tag, in order to put a common formatting for a particular section of your web page. So let's see a practical implementation like how to start working with the blocks and div tags.
Now in order to make the blocks, what I have done till now is I have put a couple of headings, the paragraph related to each heading and few points for each heading. Alright, so basically as for my design of this particular page, this is the first block for me and this one is the second block for me. This is how this output is looking like. But if I want to put some formatting as a group, means whatever I want to put it for all the things which is residing in this first block. Similarly, I want to do the same things for the second block. So to enclose them in a single block, what I can do, I can add one div tag, alright, which will take care of a particular division of your web page. And now here, I'll just close this. So this one is the first division, and right after this HR, I will add another div, which I will close just before the body right here. Alright, so now this is how I made these two segments. Now if I'll do any changes inside this div, it will be reflected in each and every element inside it. So let's say I want to change the font color of the first section. So what I'll do, I'll put a style attribute. Alright, so basically we are not covering the style things here, but just for this reference I'm doing it here, though we will create another tutorial for the CSS where we will learn about these style things in a great detail. So what I'll do, I'll change the font color. So for that, color and colon, I'll say green. So let's come here and refresh it. You can see the first segment is completely changed to green color. Similarly, if I'll come to div, second div, and here again I'll do the same thing, like style is equal to color blue. So the second one will be changed to blue font. Alright, so this is how you can start making the segments or different blocks in a single web page with the help of this div, and can do all the grouping things, means grouping for group formatting or whatever change you want to do at once. So this is about the div tag in HTML.
So far in the HTML, whenever we are putting some text, it is actually coming in its default form. That is, the font size, font color and the font family is all the same. But if I want to make some changes in order to make my web page look different and more attractive, I can actually change the way my font looks, and I can do that using the font tag. Basically nowadays we don't often use fonts tag, rather we use the style sheet in order to put some styles in our text. But here we are not going to discuss about style sheet, and even in HTML we can do that. By the time you will start learning about the style sheet, you will get some other ways also in order to design your font. But here, particularly in HTML, if you want to put some style in your text, you can do that using the fonts tag. So let's see the implementation of font tag, where we will try to change the color, size and font family of any particular text. So let's start the implementation now.
So with the context of font tag, here I am using the attribute size at the first, and where I'm showing you like the maximum value or the minimum value that a size can have is from 1 to 7. Alright, so here what I'm doing, I'm using separate line for each font, and in each line you can see that I'm using different font size to show you. So here in the output you can see we have font size 1 to font size 7, and you can check all the font sizes. If you use any other size apart from 7 like 8, so you can observe that there will be no change in the size. Alright, so that means the maximum size that a font can have here in this way will be 7. But apart from size, you can also check the font face, means the different font style which you want to use. So as you may have the different fonts installed in your system like Times New Roman, Verdana, Comic Sans MS, Wild West and Bedrock. Alright, so here I am taking the same size for all, that is 5, but the font face is different in each case. So this is the different font faces that we have in our system. If there is any font that is not installed on your system, then it will be displayed on the default font face. And finally, let's have the information about the font color. So when it's about color, we have the n number of ways of passing the color, which I'll show you later. But here what you can do, like font color, this one will be the pink color, while this is clearly written red. So when we'll check that in the browser, here you can see this is pink, this is red. So in a font tag, you can pass several things like font size, font face, and font color.
Now we will start learning about SVG in HTML5. SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics, which is used in HTML5 to draw the 2D shapes, like you will have like ellipse or rectangle or maybe any particular polygon. So basically when you will start working with this SVG like Scalable Vector Graphics, it is basically helpful for implementation of the charts like pie chart where you have some shapes to draw. Alright, similarly if you have the 2D graphs, you can make a use of this SVG as well, because it doesn't give you support for 3D, but as far as the 2D support is concerned, it can give you that in an awesome way. So let's get started with the implementation of SVG in HTML5.
So in the implementation of SVG, that is Scalar Vector Graphics, what I have done, inside the body I have placed the SVG tag. That is, whatever SVG element you want to place it, you want to put it inside. If you want, you can specify the height and width of that particular section where you want to put the scalar vector graphic elements. Like the first element which I am putting here is the circle, which ID I have set to red circle. Coordinate of x and y axis are set, and the radius as well. So I want that red color should be filled inside this circle, so I have set fill is equal to red. So these are the only things which are required to draw a circle successfully. So let's save this document, come to the browser and let's refresh, and here you can see that okay, this is the circle of 50 radius and coordinates are also 50. Make sure that the coordinates will be related to the radius only. If you want, you can use some CSS classes in order to put the alignment of this particular shape. Now in the another example, what I am doing is I am trying to create a rectangle. So right here in the same SVG tag, I have replaced the circle tag and I have added the rect tag. So here rect means it's a red rectangle I want to create with the width 300 and height 100. Since it's a rectangle, I am putting the width and height different, but if you want to draw a square, you can just put the same values all together. And again, as the name says, it's a red rect. I am filling the red color inside it. So again, I am saving the changes. I'm coming to the browser, and here you can see that yes, I got the red rectangle. Similarly, you can put some more elements in the same way. Like for now, I'm trying to make a straight line here. So when I want to make a line inside the SVG, I have placed the line tag. When you want to create a straight line, you have to pass two coordinates, that is x1 y1 and x2 y2. So the initial coordinates will be x1 y1. Alright, like x1 is 0, y1 is 0, means I want to start it from the left top corner, and the x2 is 200, y2 is 100, and I want to make the line of red color with the stroke width, that is the width of the line will be 2 pixel. So let's save this and come to the browser, and here you can see like this is starting from the very corner, alright, and it is going through the way. If you want, you can just do some changes in order to see the reflection out there. Alright, and this is how you can draw a straight line using the SVG tag. Next, it's turn for the ellipse. So if you want to create the ellipse, it is SVG element again, means the SVG tag. Inside, I have replaced the line with the ellipse tag. So when you talk about the ellipse, again, like circle, it would be having the coordinate for the x and y, but the main thing with the ellipse is the radius of x and y axis may vary. So here you can see the radius for X is 100 and radius for I is 50. And like always, I am putting the red color inside. So you can see when I'll run this in the browser, it would be like in this shape because the radius of x-axis is more. You can see it's more wide than height. All right, so if you want, you can just make some changes, like let me do 150. All right, because of its coordinates itself, it is shown in this particular way. All right, but the thing is, now the radius for of y is more than that. Next it comes here, that is polygon. So inside the same SVG tag, I am putting the polygon tag. When you talk about polygon, that means you can put n number of coordinates inside it. So what I have done here is I have put the points attribute inside which there is x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3 and so on. You can put even more, and whatever will be created, the last coordinate will be attached to the first coordinate, that is for sure. And I want to fill that with the red color. So let's save it and let's refresh it here, and you can see this is the polygon. All right, if you want, you can add one more point out there. Let's say 200 comma 200. All right, so you can see this is something like that. So these are the several shapes which you can draw inside the SVG.
In this video of HTML, we are going to cover the formatting tags. Formatting tags, as the name says, which is used to modify the output. Alright, so how we can do the formatting of a HTML document? We can do it from these formatting tags which are coming now, like the bold, italics, underline, superscript, subscript, like bold, italic, underline, you know. When you want to show some text at the bottom, like if you're from chemistry background, there is something called H2O. So 2 is at the bottom at this smaller size, so that is the subscript. Similarly, superscript like 10 square, x square, so that is the superscript tag. Big, small will basically modify the size of the font from the current font size. Like big will make it bigger, as the name says. Small tag will make it smaller. Alright, and monospaced. Monospaced, like when you use different alphabets like I, O are having different area consumption, like I take lesser space than O. So if you want that all the characters should take a equal space, then that part you can use the monospaced tag. So let's see all these tags practically and see how they change the appearance or the formatting of the web page.
So now, in context of formatting tags, I will start the things with the bold tag, that is represented by the letter B. So inside B tag, I will write like this is bold. So as you can see, this particular text is shown as bold. Similarly, I can go for the I tag, that is the italics. So it will convert a simple text into the italics font. So as you can see, this is italics. All right, so just to put some gap, I will use the BR tag here. All right, and I will do that again after the italics. Now U tag I will use for the underline. So basically, if you want to underline some important text out in a paragraph or maybe for any purpose, you can use this underline tag, that is the U tag. Alright, so as you can see, these are the things. In case you want to put multiple tags in a same, so you will have to apply the LIFO in that. For example, for a single text, I want to use B as well, U as well, and I as well. Alright, so this is my text, is the text. Now after that, I'll have to first close I, then I'll close U, and then I will close the bold tag. All right, so this is what I call the LIFO, last in first out. So this was the tag which opened at the last. I will close it first. So here is the text. All right, it's bold, it's italic and underlined. Similarly, we do have a tag here called strike, but yeah. So now let's talk about the strike tag, which basically strikes out a particular text which you will put inside. All right. Let's say this is strike tag. So I just use the word strike between this strike tag. So only this one will be striked out. Similarly, in formatting, I do have some more tags, that is the superscript and subscript tag. So let's say if I want to use something like a subscript, so for that I will use like H, then I will use the superscript tag, that is subscript tag, that is sub 2, and then I'll close this sub tag, alright, and then O. So let me break the line again. So you can see, let me increase the font size. It is the subscript when you want some tag to be shown in this subscript manner. Similarly, we do have the superscript, like if I want to write 10 cube, so 10, then I will use superscript cube, and then I will close that superscript. Alright, so this is the 10 cube. So now let's continue with some more tags, that is the small and big tag. So basically for that what I'll do, this is small text. Alright, and I have enclosed that inside the small tag. So this particular text will be smaller than the before text, right? Like this is written before than this, so this one is comparatively bigger than this particular text. Alright, similarly we do have the big tag. Alright, that is for in that what I'll do, this is big text. Alright, so I'll close it here, and as you can see, this one is comparatively bigger than this text. Alright, so these are some tags which you can use for the formatting purposes. You will make the GET request, but if you are submitting the form content to the server, you will go for the post. So in maximum cases, I will go for the method post. Now inside this form tag, now I can start working with the different controls. Like here, I'll start working with the text box, which is actually the very common control which is used on a website. So basically what I'm doing, I'm just taking a couple of fields here like first name and last name, and for taking the names I will use a text box which will allow a user to write any content of string type over the browser. So for that I will use the input tag, in which type attribute value will be text. Even if you will not pass any value for the type, by default input tag will give you the text box control. Now the next thing is name or ID you can use, which is used for the uniqueness of all the controls over a web page. In future, if you are trying to access the value of any particular control, then in JavaScript you can use the methods like document.getElementById or document.getElementByName. But so these are the couple of controls that I have added just now. Let's come to the browser to check how they're looking like. So here you can see there are a couple of things like first name text box and last name text box. Now if you want to make some more changes out there, you can definitely do that. Like for example, max length. Max length means if in a database where you are submitting the value, if you have make a size of a particular column, let's say the first name column in database is taking not more than 20 characters. So what I'll do, I'll make max length as 20 so that a user should not be able to enter more than 20 characters. So like if I'll start entering the value, So these are the 20 characters. After that, even if I am pressing the keys, it will not accept any kind of value. And accordingly, you will be able to see how big your text box is. Similarly, we do have one more attribute called placeholder, which will give you a help text in your text box. Let's say I'll say enter first name. So here you will be able to see this text, alright, but as soon as you will start entering something, that placeholder value will go away. So these are the different attributes which you can use with the text box. Now let's start with another control, that is password. So for that I have taken again a couple of fields like user ID and password, which is a very common example for that. So again, for text box, for user ID, I'll use a text box, alright, like input type is equal to text, because I want to see the user ID value. But in other hand, it's about password, where I will accept the dots. So dots means it should not be visible to the user. So for that it is the password. So when we'll come to the browser, here you can see the first value you can see, but here whatever I'll write, you will just be able to see the dots. So this is the password. Again, you can set the maximum length and the size of the text box that the way you were doing that in normal text box. But in case you are required to take some bigger values from the user, then rather than going for the text box, single line text box or password, obviously not, you can go for the text area. Like here, there is a field called description, for which I want some big entries to be done. So for that, what I have done, there is text area control which I have used. There is no input tag. Text area is itself a tag here. Rows and columns means how much height and width you want for that text area on the basis of characters. So it will take 50 characters in the width, that is calls, and 5 rows. Obviously, when you will increase the content, there will be some scroll bars scrolling which you can read the complete content. And as I said, name, which is used for the uniqueness of any control, and later you can actually retrieve the control if you want to get the value through JavaScript. So let's refresh it, and here you can see there is the text box. Alright, so now here you can see whatever I can write, like this is text area. Alright, if I'll keep writing the things will be wrapped. Alright, and when I will be done with the 5 rows as per the size, I will get the scroll bar which you can see right here. So this is how you can work with the text area in order to take the bigger values from the user. But if I don't want to take any text data from the user, rather I want user to choose some of the options which I want to give, so for that I will use the control called checkbox. So here in this particular example, I am using the checkbox inside which there are a couple of options, that is math and physics, and I have already given the name like math and physics for the internal purpose. So whenever you will require to take some value, some options from the user, or to give some options to the user which a user can choose, make sure when you are using checkbox, user can go for the multiple selections as well. So here you can see maths and physics, there are 2 checkboxes. Alright, if you want that one checkbox should be checked by default, then you can pass the attribute called checked. So when you will refresh, by default this math checkbox will be checked, while the second one, that is physics, is unchecked. But as I said, this is checkbox and multiple selections can be made using checkboxes. If you want that only one option must be selected, then in that case I will go for the radio button. And for that, rather than input type is equal to checkbox, I will use input type is equal to radio. But as I said, in radio button you will only be able to check the single value, but that will only be possible when you will give the same name to these checkboxes. Alright, if the name is different, you will be able to select the complete radio buttons. Reason is, when you will give the same name, then only both or all the radio buttons will be categorized for a single field, and out of that field only one value will be able to choose. So let's see here the output. Now there are two radio buttons, and out of that only one can be selected. Let's say if I will change the name of any of the checkbox, radio button, sorry, but so in that case I will be able to choose both. So make sure in all the radio buttons of the same category you will pass the same name for the ensuring the single selection. Now if I want to give a list to the user in which I want that user should be able to choose a single value, then drop down control is actually a very famous control in that sense. So let's see how we can create the drop down control here, and for that I will use the select tag. Name is drop down, you can give any logical name to the control, and inside that drop down, depends how many values you want to give in the list, you will pass that particular kind of option, means number of option. Each option will actually add one element in the drop down. Value maths, here I want to show the text as math, and whichever value, only one value can be selected by default, so whichever is that particular value you can pass the attribute called selected, so that value will be shown by default. So here you can see there is a drop down in which math is being selected by default. Even if I'll refresh this particular page, you will be able to see that again math is chosen by default. So this is your drop down control. Now here we'll find some kind of controls, those are actually the buttons. So basically what I'll do here, I'll say input type is equal to submit, input type is equal to reset, and input type is equal to button. As in the beginning of this form video, I said that every form should have one submit button, on clicking on which you will go to your action page. So here is the submit button, and that is how you can make it. Name is submit, and the value means the text over the button is I want submit. Similarly, there is a reset button. If you will click over it, all the controls in the field on the text box will be reset, means they will be blank. There is button which can be used for any particular purpose, like for OK or for cancel, for whatever you want. You can just add a button, and whatever you want to do, you can write the functionality in the JavaScript. And the very same thing you can do with the image button also. The only thing with the image button is you can make it fancy. You can just design the kind of button you want as an image, and then you can put that over this input type is equal to image. Basically it will be different from that of the image tag, that img tag, which we have already learned in this video. But this input type is equal to image will behave like a button where you will be seeing the image. So let's come to the browser. So here you will be able to see the submit, reset, OK, and again there's a button. Alright, so these are all the HTML controls that you can use along with the form control.
By the time you start working on a web page, sometime you come across situation like you want to give some points. Like under any particular paragraph, you may require some points like the number of mobiles available, means the model of mobile available in your website or anything. So for that purposes, you have the option of the list tags. In HTML, we have three kind of lists, that is the ordered list, unordered list, and the definition list. So let's see a practical implementation where we will find the similarity and differences between each of these lists.
So let's begin the thing with the unordered list. In order to put the unordered list, I will use the UL tag, that means unordered, and inside this I will put the LIs, that is the list item. So basically here I'm trying to make a list of all the web development technologies. So here if you want, you can also give an heading like H3 web development Alright, I'll close that H3. Now there will be an HR, horizontal line, align, left, and width is 50%. Alright, so let's save it, come to the browser. So here you can see web development, that's the heading, and here main thing is here you can see the content. Alright, so basically this is, as you can see here, this is something called disk, the type of bullets which we are using, and after that we are putting the content. Alright, so all these four elements have been shown here as a part of the list. Now if you want to change the type of the bullets that you are using, you can use the different options like square. If you use square, it will be square in shape. Alright, as you can see here, these are now square in shape so that you can see it clearly. Initially it was disk, so even if I'll say type is equal to disk, it will be the default value. Alright, so again they have been changed to disk. And the third thing which you can do here is the circle. Now you can see this is the circle. Alright, so similarly you can get the concept of ordered list also, which is nothing but OL, that is ordered list, and the type. I'll not use the type in the first example, so let me start working with the OL. Now when I will work with the ordered list, obviously there will be some kind of numbering. So here you can see the numeric values have been shown like 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly, you can also put the type attribute here. Here the type attribute will be a bit different. If I'll say type 1 means the same, the default value. But if I'll say small a, it will be like small abcd. If I'll say capital A, it will be capital ABCD in the numbering. If you want Roman numbers, I can put I. If I'll put I, it will be small Roman numbers with the dots at the top. If I'll say capital I, it will be like this. Alright, so let me continue with the small a. Now when you say small a, it will, or any ordered list, it will always begins with the initial position, right, like A, B, C, D. Now here what I'll do, I will put another thing called start. If you don't want to start from the very beginning, you can put any particular value. Let's say if I'll say 4, so it will be started with the fourth position. So the D is the fourth element, so D, E, F, G. Alright. So similarly, you can also make these things in a nested way. For example, inside this ASP.NET, I want to put another unordered list. Alright. So what I'll do, I'll say UL, and inside this I'll put LI. Let's say ASP.NET version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 and so on. Alright, so let's save this, come to the browser, and here you can see they are the nested inside this main ordered list. Alright, so this is how you can start working with these different kind of list options available with your HTML.
In this video of HTML, we will discuss about one of the very important tags in HTML, that is tables. As the name said, table means it will be the tabular format comprising rows and columns inside it. So basically the main use of tables in classic HTML is to arrange the layout of your web page. So using the tables, and you can even nest a table inside a table, you can actually design a structure or a layout of your web page, like what all you want to put on the top, like logo or any tagline, name of your organization. After that, in what way you want to put the content, like some links, then some image, or whatever you want to put. So using the different tags related to table and the different attributes related to table, you can actually structure your web page. So let's see a practical implementation of what all we have in your table tag in HTML.
So let's start with a very basic example of table. So in this particular example, what I have done is, first of all, I put a table tag followed by the border where I put the value 1. So basically we have already seen the border attribute in images where it was basically an outline around the image. So here it will do the same thing with the table. Now, in this particular table, I want to use a couple of rows, and in each row, I want 2 columns. So, to do that, what I have done, first of all, I have added one tr. For inside that, we have put 2 tds, alright? Like first td inside this, I have put row 1, column 1, another td in which row 1, column 2. So, in the same row, it will be 2 columns. Once we are done with this, we will add another tr followed by 2 tds inside, as we have already done here. So let's save this and come to the browser for the output. So here you can see this is the row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2, and again in the another row, row 2, column 1, row 2, column 2. Alright, if you want, you can add another row with this very same manner. Alright, like one more tr. I'm not changing the text, so if I'll come, you can see one more row out there. By default, the width of the table and the cells depend on the content which you are putting inside. If you want to change the width, you can actually give it a value like width is equal to 500 pixels. Alright, so now it will be taking that particular size. Along with that, you can observe like this text is actually getting started from the very means it's just connected to the borders or the edges. Alright, if you want to give some space between the text and the corners, you can actually use the attribute called cell padding. Alright, so in cell padding, if you give any value, let's say 5, so basically there will be some distance, and now you can see there is some gap between the text and the edges of this cell. Similarly, if you want to give some space between the two cells, you can use another attribute called cell spacing. So in cell spacing, if I'll give any value, let's say 5 again, so now the difference between the cell will be increased. So these are the some common attributes of the table, that is the cell spacing, cell padding, width and border. Now let's give some heading to each column of the table. So for doing that, if you want to show some data inside a table in a tabular format, so you can also give it a heading. And for doing that particular thing, what you can do, you will have to add another row, that is tr. Since it is heading, it should be in the top of the table. Alright, and now inside this we have put a couple of headings, that is the table heading. This is tabular data and this is table heading inside a table row. Alright, so now since the first column is containing the name, I'll put a name followed by the salary. Alright, so let's put any value. So there are some data which I have entered. Alright, let's come to the browser and refresh, and now here you can see there is name, salary, which is the heading. Automatically they are centered alignment and they are bold, and followed by the 3 records where each column is containing a name and salary. So these are the things which you can use for displaying data in a tabular format, but you can also do a lot of more things inside a table. Let's say if you want to merge 2 rows or 2 columns, or maybe more than 2 or columns, so you can use the options called call span and row span. Call span to merge the columns, while row span is to merge the rows. So for that, I will again use the initial table which we used for the introduction of the table reference. Alright, let me add one more row out here. So that will be row 3, column 1, column 2. Alright, so and let's add one more actually column in all these 3. So 3 rows and 3 columns. So column 1, column 2, column 3. Let me do this in all the TRs. So now this one is done. Let's see the output now. So this is how it is looking like. So let's say I want to merge these two columns now. All right. What I want to do is I want to merge row 1 column 2 and row 1 column 3. So for that, what I'll have to do, I will have to make changes in this particular column, that is row 1 column 2. So let's come here in row 1 column 2, and here what I'll do, since I want to merge two columns, I will use call span. And how many columns I want to merge? This 1 and 2. So I'll say call span is equal to 2. So basically after that, this will be merged to this column. So I will have to remove this column because the only column means this row 1 column 2 is taking the space of two columns. It is merging two columns as a single. So I will remove this row 1 column 3. So let's refresh and see. This particular column is taking the space of two columns in this particular fashion. Similarly, if I want to merge row 1 column 1 to row 2 column 1, I can do that as well. So since here I was using call span, here I am merging two rows, so it will be row span. So again, I will start the things from here because this is the first cell in the list. Remember when I was merging these two columns, so this was the starting cell. When I'm merging these two rows, again this is the starting cell. So I will make the changes only in the starting cell. So let's come to row 1 column 1, where I will use row span. And in this row span, how many rows I'm going to merge? Since I don't have any bigger table, so I'm just merging two rows and columns. You can create a bigger table and you can merge more than two rows and columns. So here what I have done is there is row span 2. So what it will do? It will be merged from this and this. So basically what I'll have to do, I will have to remove this row 2 column 1. So let's come here and remove this row 2 column 1, save this and come to the browser, and here you can see these two cells have been merged. So let's add one more thing here. This is how, as we learned, this is how we can start merging the rows and columns. Now I can also add a caption out here. This is merging cells example. So whenever you want to put a caption to your table, right after the table tag, before the cells, before any row, we should add the caption. So as similarly I have done here. So let's come here and see. This is the caption. Alright, so this is merging cells example. Similarly, if you want to change the color of your table, you can use the BG color attribute. Alright, so here in the BG color, what I'll do, I'll use a color tan. Let's come here and refresh. You can see the background of the color is changed to tan. Similarly, if you want to put any background image, you can do that. I don't have currently any proper background image, so but if you want, you can. And let's refresh. So here you can see the image is being added as a background. As I said, you should go for a valid background image which will give a pleasant output to your tables. Similarly, if you want to add the header or footer for your table, you can do that as well with the tags called thead and tfoot. So what is that? This is basically the head of the table. This is the footer of the table. Alright. So I'll just use call span 3 here because we just have 3 cells maximum in our table. Alright, in a row. So let's come here and refresh. So here you can see this is the header, this is the footer. Though I added this tfoot at the top, but since it was tfoot, it will anyhow go at the bottom. Alright. So these are the different attributes and different tags inside a table which you can use for designing a table. And as I said in the description, you can use the nested table in order to make the designing of your web pages.
In this video of HTML5, we are going to put the implementation of media elements. Basically, its implement is quite simple and interesting, which will help us out in putting the audio and video file over the browser. So it actually helps us in putting the media of things over the browser so that a user can see the video like you are seeing it right now. So basically it's just because of the help of such media controls. So we'll see what the controls are provided by the media elements in HTML5.
So to implement the media, first of all, we'll see how to play the video files out here. So as you can see, inside the body, I have directly applied the video tag with the height and width. So obviously, as per your requirement, you can put the height and width. And after that, you can put a list of all the source files. When you will add the source file list, the first compatible file will start playing. Like here, first is the awk file and the second is the mp4 file. So here I have the mp4 file in my directory, as here inside HTML5 demo folder you can see there is a media file where I have a file which I want to play there in the browser. So once I will put the list of files, as I said, first compatible file will be played in the browser, and if none of the files are getting support, then this message will be shown over the browser. Alright, so let's go to the browser and refresh the page, and here you can see the thumbnail of my video is there. Alright, so I don't have any option of playing this particular video. So what I'll do, I will add one more attribute out there called controls. As soon as I will do that, you can see now I have an option of the slider, volume, making it to the full screen, time, and play and pause. So these are the number of things which you can see while working with the video. As you can see, when I'm refreshing the page, the video is not autoplay. So if you want that as well, you can put another option, that is autoplay. So let me save that, and now you will see as soon as I'm refreshing it, the video will be in the play mode. So these are the options which are available for the video file. Similarly, you can put the audio tag in the very same way. So with the audio tag, you don't need to put the height and width of it because it's not playing a video. And again, the controls and autoplay has the same option. Alright, now after that you can put the path out there. I don't have any file, but you can put that in a very same way as I did it for the video. And once you will do that, let me refresh that. Here you will see the audio player. Alright, so whatever the compatible file will be there in your particular location, that file will start playing. So this is how to use the media elements in your HTML5.